Are you the best footballer in the world right now?
I think so, yes. In my mind, I'm always the best. I don't care what the people are thinking, what they say. In my mind, not just this year, but always, I'm always the best. I'm always going to say that.
Welcome to Level Up Talks. No matter how far away your goal is, disappointment and frustration are binding you. There is always hope. There is always the one who cares, the one you love. There is always a way to level up.
So we're going to talk about how we're going to start a podcast.
Are you feeling like you're getting ahead of that personal stuff now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the truck thing, the car thing. Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, we've made some decisions. Because even that process, like, it's not a big deal, but going through and making a decision on how you're going to spend $30,000
Yeah.
is stressful. Like, it's not the actual, there's multiple elements to the whole thing, but just the decision-making process amongst yourself is difficult. Now you're involving somebody else that you may not always agree on everything.
Yeah.
So now you need to compromise, and now you've got life on top of that. So when do you find the time to go look at these vehicles? I had some other commitments that I was making. So did Michelle. Then we have kids' commitments and all those different things. So, like, call out other stress. Mom, can I borrow your car? Right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I'm so lucky to have them in my life. Absolutely. But even the act of asking.
Yeah, it makes you feel crappy, right?
Yeah, well, it makes you, I don't know what it is. It's probably a chink in your ego or whatever. I mean, it's silly. But anyway, so just all those little things. So you start to actually appreciate, like, wow, if I'm stressing about this, like, and someone else is in a more difficult situation, gives you a little bit of perspective on.
Did you ever see that video that was floating around Facebook about the guy, he wakes up and everything's wrapped in gift paper? So he wakes up and, like, the shower's wrapped and he unwraps it and he's like, oh my God, I have water. It's all those little things that you take for granted. It's like you don't recognize your health until somebody else is sick or until you're sick. You don't recognize the car and how great that is to have a good working vehicle until you don't have the vehicle anymore. So it's that contrast. Yeah. But the contrast is good. You need the contrast, because if you don't know what's bad, then you're not going to appreciate the good. Yeah.
No, I 100% agree. That's my mindset when I'm going through difficult times, is that how can I be grateful for this now? Because I know I will be down the road, and that's at least what I've learned over my experiences, is that there's always a lesson there or a new way to look at things. So trying to do that in the moment isn't always easy. Yeah. But that's something that I'm definitely working on, because it can help for sure. So yeah, other than that, I mean, everything seems to be moving forward in other elements of my life. How about yourself?
Yeah, everything's good. We're just hitting busy season, so we're always busy. We go from crazy busy to insane busy. So we're just heading into that insane busy. So much of our business is weather driven. So as the weather kind of gets nice, people start flooding through and start doing showings. As it gets kind of cold and crappy, people stop going out. So, it'll be nice to have some good weather here. It'll really push the market and get some inventory out.
Well, certainly specific to your industry, it seems like there is no inventory.
Yeah, it's very, very little. We're caught in that thing where I don't want to list my house until I find something. But everybody's in this, I don't want to list my house till I find something. And so nobody's listing, and then nobody's finding anything.
So there's lots of people, even locally, that want to, modify their arrangements, but that's the challenge.
That's the catch-22. And so now we're just saying, like, listen, just list your house and make it conditional on you finding something suitable so that we get some inventory on the market to drive the market, to get the market going.
What's the mindset of not wanting to list their house because they want to find something?
They want to find something first before listing. So
and
they're
that
not
didn't exist before?
Well, it's just there was
It's
a surplus of inventory, so we never really had this problem. People are like, oh, there's a few different houses I could choose from, right?
That was because a lot of people were moving out. Now there's a lot of people moving in. Does that make...
That could very well be part of the problem. There's just too much demand and not enough supply, really. You know, we need to get people surging and putting their stuff out on the market first.
Are we seeing a lot of...
There's quite a few multiple offers in the Kingston area in different pockets. Not so much in Napanee, but...
Okay. And I guess what I was going to ask, are we seeing a lot of people from, say, beyond the bordering communities moving in, say, Toronto or...
A lot of GTA people coming in for sure, cashing out and looking for little areas to either retire out of, or if they're working from home in Toronto, why not work from home in Napanee or Kingston, where you get more bang for your buck and smaller communities and... So we're seeing a lot of that happen. A lot of investors investing in Kingston, a lot of assignments going on. So people buying new builds before they're built and then reassigning, because if it's not being built for 6 months or a year, the pricing's going up.
Are we seeing the pricing going up?
Yeah. And so a lot of these people are, are doing that. So because the builders need commitments and offers to purchase in order to go ahead with their next phases. So sometimes these phases aren't rolling out for a year. So by the time a year goes by, they're reassigning some of these builds for, $30,000, $40,000, $80,000 more than what they paid for them. So investors are now coming here and seeking this type of opportunity. So there's a handful of different things in the mix that are driving the market. Yeah. Which is good.
Yeah. Well, activity is always good. I think about ourselves and our own situation, and I think we're committed to living in our own home for the next 10 or 15 years, certainly while the kids grow up, and then that's the next big probably thing that, well, beyond obviously a car, but because I think Michelle would love to stay there forever. Now, that's what she said, and where I'm more open to saying, hey, I don't know, cash out's a way to say it, but use some of that equity to then do other things in my life that I really want to do. But I don't know how I got down that route, going down that road, but I was just thinking out loud, I guess.
Energetically, I found last month a strange month.
Did you?
Yeah.
I know energetically, certainly for myself, I seem like I'm going through a little bit of a not as high as I typically am living. There's pockets where I get energized. I had a great conversation this morning with someone, and I certainly came alive in that conversation, which I think you need to take note of those things. Yeah. But yeah, as I continue to go through my navigation of where I'm going and how I'm going there, I certainly feel like it's a
push and pull.
Push and pull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's pushing you? What's pulling you?
Is that a direct question,
yes.
Shannon? What's pushing? What's pulling me? Probably the same things. I mean, I'm really trying to lean into my purpose, and I overuse, but not to regret not doing things in 20 years. And that's not easy to do, because it's easy to stay comfortable. Yeah. It's just so easy to stay comfortable.
Absolutely.
And I think that will be a big regret of mine down the road, is that you just stayed comfortable.
I think that's everybody's biggest regret, right? I think it's either staying comfortable or doing the status quo. Right? I think
what's
that's
expected of you?
Yeah.
Is that how you, or is
that? Yeah. I think the whole, I took quite a few sociology classes, which are really fascinating. It's the study of human behavior, how people get on an elevator and always look up at the numbers, or they, look at the numbers that are sitting on the box. Like, you're not supposed to look at people. Those are like cultural society things that we do that you don't even recognize that you do.
You're right.
And so I think there's just certain things in our life that we consistently do because culturally it's the right thing to do. And I very much try and live by, if tomorrow was my last day, would I regret this? Like having Dean sleep in my bed with me. That's a huge controversial thing about having your kids co-sleep, and culturally it's not really acceptable. But at the same time, I look at it and think, if I was on my deathbed tomorrow, would I look back and say I miss those moments? Absolutely. Right. So culturally, I don't really care what people think.
The foot in the face isn't that
I don't care. I don't care. I can deal with it. I like it. Those moments to me are really precious, and I'm going to eat those moments up as much as I can. And to each his own, if that doesn't make somebody feel comfortable, then don't do it.
You don't have to do it.
But you have to ask yourself, are you not doing it because culturally it's not normal, or are you not doing it because, you don't want to do it, and those are two different things that you always have to be kind of weighing in on, right?
Yeah. Do you think that it's just easier to judge rather than to think?
Absolutely. I think there's a bit of a, we hide behind that judgment, right? It's like, going against those judgments force you to go out of your box of thinking, which force you to move forward and do things that make you feel uncomfortable. So definitely.
Yeah. I think, I've been thinking about that a lot. Is just like, it's too easy to criticize somebody else rather than to think about why they do it, or try to, see it from their perspective, or question your own logic.
Yeah. I was talking the other day to the girls in here about, it's funny how when somebody gets in a car accident, if it's them getting in the car accident, they must have been texting and driving. They must have not been paying attention. They must have whatever. It's always like, their fault personally. But when you get in a car accident, it's like it had nothing to do with you. It was, right. It was the roads, it was the weather, it was whatever. It's just perspective, right? We're so judgy, and
where does that come from? I'm sure right from our parents probably judging us all the time.
Well, I think just it's natural to look at something and, start questioning things in your head. Do I like that? Do I not like that? Does that smell good? Does that not smell good? Do I like that color? I don't like that color. Does that food taste good? It doesn't taste good. Mm-hmm. It's a contrast of like, we're constantly judging everything we do. We're constantly like, am I too hot or am I too cold? Does this feel good or not feel good? And so, I think we're based in this life of judgment.
How do you get out of your comfort zone so that you can kind of stretch and grow? Like, so that you are less judgmental? Because I think that's where it comes from. Is maybe just lack of experience or empathy or...
I think a lot of it for me personally is when I did the NLP, that was a really big core principle of NLP, that people are not their behaviors, that if somebody is doing something... I now look at people and go, okay, well, I would normally judge them and go, oh, you're horrible. But I look at it and I say, okay, well, this is the past you came from. Your father was abusive to you, and so that's why you're being abusive to someone else. Not that it excuses it, but you become less judgmental because you start looking past the person. Mm-hmm. And that really starts changing how you perceive the world, and in a much better way. Mm-hmm. So I find I'm far less judgy now.
Yeah. So, is it that you're still judgy, but you catch yourself? Is that fair? Like, I find myself that I still judge, even though I would say that's not a good thing to do. Mm-hmm. I just catch myself in the moment.
Yes.
So it's like my instinct is to make a judgment, but it's like, whoa. Yeah. Wait a minute here.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's definitely what's happening. It's not that you're never going to get to a place where you don't judge.
Yeah.
It's just you're going to analyze how you're judging yourself as you personally develop and move through that process.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's right. I'm being honest. I still judge. Certainly, I'm just more aware of it. And I try to put that through a filter before I outwardly project anything, because it's happening the other way. And again, like, do unto others as you'd like done to you. I certainly want people to look at me through a lens of empathy and understanding, because my actions might not be what they think is right, but also I'm not my actions, like you said.
Well, everybody's broken to a certain degree,
we make
right?
mistakes, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I know. I often say now, like, oh, well, they're broken,
Right.
Originally, I would judge them, but now I'm just, recognizing that they're broken. Yeah. Everybody's broken. You have broken pieces.
And the other part to that, because that's just the one, is that it may not even be broken, is that you just disagree on how they handle things. And they likely would disagree with you on how you handle things, right?
That's a very good point. Absolutely.
There's certain things that probably wouldn't be acceptable on the face of that, and like hurting other people intentionally. But just because you like the color blue and I like black doesn't make you right and me wrong. It's just two different colors.
Two different colors. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. What else can we talk about today?
Any new movies?
Any new movies? I watched, what did I watch? It wasn't new. It was a dark movie about, what was these? I want to say serial killers.
That's great. Yeah, let's go down this path.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh, okay.
And it was a movie about that, and long enough removed that, Still, it was a wild movie. It was a good movie. It was with Woody Harrelson and
someone else. I remember it now. Yeah, I saw that years and years ago.
It is probably an old movie. It was on Netflix, and I enjoyed it. So that's pretty much it.
It's funny because Kevin and I very much now are very conscious about not watching anything dark or negative. We really cut out, like we have for a long time. We've never watched news, I don't think, ever in the history we've been together. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's just really important because, for me, I spend half of the day or more building myself up into a positive energy level, and then I can get knocked out in 2 seconds watching a CSI episode.
Sure.
So we're watching like all fun, positive stuff now. We don't put anything really dark on.
Yeah.
It always has to have like a good ending. We watched Greatest Showman the other night. I'd already watched it, but Kevin hadn't watched it. And Kevin and my parents and I watched it. It's such a great movie. For anyone who hasn't watched it, it's fantastic.
Yeah, there's some dark themes in that, though.
Like there's always going to be,
and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But balanced, I guess, is what you're saying.
It's a happy ending. And we're really big into Queer Eye. So that's a really great
the new show. Yeah.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
And it's 5 gay guys that go in and they transform people, but they're brilliant. There's one guy that helps with food and cooking, and another guy that does like the whole haircut and, regime.
It's a life makeover.
Yeah.
It's not just, I think the original Queer Eye for a Straight Guy or something like that was, like just a physical transformation. It certainly affected other areas of their life, but this is like they do
their wardrobe, their food, their house, their face, their body, like everything. It's really, really, it's a very feel good, happy go lucky, positive, great show to watch. Yeah. So we're a bit addicted to that right now.
Yeah.
And then I like mindless things. I like Bachelor and things that just make me laugh. That just, they're not dark. They're just easy, fun watches. And I've always loved Big Brother.
We watched that last night. I don't get into too many series anymore just because I feel like they drain my time.
Yeah. Big Brother's hard because there was like 3 a week. So it was like really hard to stay caught up on.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you miss like a week, you're like, oh God, I'm 4 episodes behind. I'm never going to get caught up.
That's why I try not to get into Netflix series either, just because,
suck the life out of you.
If it has 7 seasons, say goodbye to a month.
You
know, it's like up till 3 in the morning, and you're like, geez, I got to get up at 7. One more episode.
We were like that with Suits and Scandal.
You're right,
like,
and us too.
I
didn't get into Scandal, but Suits we binged.
It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. You're like, I have to go to bed. My eyes are like burning. Yeah.
Any plans for the summer?
Just cottage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is that what you do pretty much all summer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't do any traveling in the spring, summer months. I'm too busy, but the cottage is only 20 minutes away, so I can still work while I'm, there. I'm only 20 minutes away from picking up an appointment, so it's really good.
Have you seen, I don't know if you've picked up on this online, 2 women from this area have started walking across Canada for the homeless. Have you seen that?
I have not.
Super, super cool. They're doing such a great job. And I just thought, definitely give a shout out, but, and I'll make sure it's linked a couple of weeks after, but it's going to take them a long time to walk across Canada.
Yeah.
They've been doing it for, I want to say 40 days or something.
That's amazing.
What courage. I guess about what I wanted to ask you is like, is there anything like that's a pretty huge commitment,
it's
a huge commitment, but, let me finish my statement first. I guess I'm just so proud from an observer's perspective that they risked and doing what they're doing, for giving up all the other things, like the courage it would take, because it would be scary.
Oh God, yeah,
scary.
Because these people have jobs and lives and commitments and everything else, just to put that all aside, just to do something and do a mission for somebody else is really phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, did you ever have anything like that you kind of think about?
For sure. I mean, we've been recently talking about, things that we can do in other countries. Like when we go to Mexico, we always bring toys down and we meet with local kids and give them stuff and, you know, whatever. And that's a really great experience for not only myself and Kevin, but Deegan and everybody that goes with us. But I would love to do something more. You know, we have a school in the Philippines that we support.
Yeah.
We solely 100% fund it with my old nanny, and that's fantastic. We've got like 25 kids that learn to read and write every year.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we're also supporting staff, and it's just fantastic. But I'd love to do something else. I'd love to go away and actually do like a 1 or 2 week.
Yeah. Like mission
excursion.
kind of thing.
Yeah, mission. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah. Well, I've never decided what I want to do, but there is something there. And that's why I'm just so drawn to these two women doing this. And you know, what's really cool is that their cause is great, but the way that they're doing it and putting themselves out there, their impact is much greater than what they actually started out doing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I'm really drawn to, not only for them, but for as a result, because that's what I want to do myself. Mm-hmm. I'm just, I'm just very inspired by these two people that I wouldn't otherwise have assumed I would be inspired by. Mm-hmm. So I think, there's certainly something to be taken away from that. For myself, is that it can come from anywhere.
Absolutely. John Ross Parks, who's a realtor in Belleville, I love him to death. And he did something, was it last year or the year before? Anyways, I think he might have done it even a couple times now. And I think it was for the women's shelter in Belleville. And he got on the roof, I believe it was the roof of Royal LePage, in a tent in the winter when it was freezing. And people were calling in and donating money.
Right.
And he was doing weird, crazy things. Like, you know, if you donated X amount of dollars, you could select and he would shave half his head. Oh. And so if you donate another amount of money, he would shave the other half of his head, or he would do a tattoo, or like he would eat something crazy. Like he was doing like absolutely crazy things. Super fascinating to watch. He videoed the whole thing. He was live. It was just like, wow, like just really gutsy and so amazing, and just really shows what a great character and person that he really is.
Yeah.
Not that if you don't do something like that, you're not a good character, but I think there's a personality type, you know, to do something like that.
It's admirable when somebody stands up
for a cause period.
Yeah, stands up for a cause period, but puts himself out there and risks other things. Yeah. Now, shaving your head, what's the big risk? But there's something. Yeah. Like, not everybody's doing it. But
I can't remember all the quirky things that he was doing, but I thoroughly enjoyed watching it, and I thought, this is absolutely brilliant. It was just really well
There's something about sacrifice.
Demonstrated. Yeah, there is something about sacrifice. It's giving up part of yourself for somebody else. It's such a selflessness, right? It's above and beyond.
Yeah, that's what I need to do more of.
Yeah.
I need to do more of that.
Yeah,
like,
I think
really dig.
The world would be a better place if everybody did.
You know,
more of that.
Selfishness.
But like, what a great testimony to your kids, right? To do something like that and show your kids that too.
Yeah.
That's very powerful.
Yeah. Well, I was sharing this the other day. I've shared it other places, probably here. But legacy, just being able to have something to be proud about, to look back on. Not only, obviously your kids, but beyond that. Like,
do you think everybody thrives for impact?
A lot of people do. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people do. I think that I would imagine.
Or do you think maybe just everybody would, but they just don't think about it?
Yeah, I would think that there's different scales. Like, everybody wants to have impact in some way, but my impact may be different than others. Again, that different color or different shades of that color.
I often wondered, like, what made Tony Robbins, Oprah, some of these really big people that are such huge givers, like, most of them will say from a really young age, they felt that they were destined for more. They felt they were destined for greatness, for helping. Like, they had a calling at a young age. Yeah. I don't know if that's, like, something that's you're born with or something that you just, socially come into. It's fascinating. I'm sure there's studies about it.
I think it's a lot more complicated, right? Like, there's probably personality. There's experience that impacts your personality. There's your environment that influences, your next steps and you going after it as a result. Like, that impacts, I think, your personality.
Yeah. I'm sure there's studies.
I think it's more, I think it's more complicated than just, you just do it. But I think everybody wants to grow to some extent, but what I consider growth other people would be not a chance that I want to do that, right? And they're not wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely, for
you know,
sure.
like I want A, B, and C, and you want A, B, and D.
Well, that's a good thing, though, isn't it?
Or A, or...
You know what? It's good that we don't all want the same things. We'd be fighting over the same things.
Yeah, I mean...
If we all liked Jaguars,
well,
then there wouldn't be enough Jaguars.
It just makes it more interesting, too.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, it's fun to compliment one another.
Yeah, I think the variation is good. And that's how we started this conversation, talking about contrast.
Do we?
How important contrast is.
my train of thought the last 3 or 4 weeks has kind of been all over the place.
You seem a little cloudy lately.
Yeah, I'm deep in thought. I'm being very introspective. Okay. That's why even
that's interesting.
Responding to your questions are a little bit more...
Are you questioning yourself?
Probably.
Is it like self-doubt?
No.
No, it's just digging for something deeper.
I'm just being more mindful of my responses.
And what's created that?
Just self-awareness, asking myself about my own personality and what my tendencies are.
What your goals are.
Yeah.
Impact.
Yeah. I'm just trying to well, I know what my preferences are when I get into a conversation like this, and we get excited, and that's like those are your preferences as well, and that's why we can build up, and snowball, right? Which is super awesome. But I, at the same time, I know that sometimes while that is a positive in some cases, in other scenarios, that can be that intensity can be not so great, right? So I'm just being more mindful of that. I'm just more mindful of actually tasting the question or the conversation before.
Rather than just making a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
And jumping out with it.
Yeah.
I think reflection is fantastic. It's very important. Those long pauses we can edit out. Or we can leave them in.
Yeah.
But, I think the reflection is definitely, I think I answer too quick sometimes. I'm not reflective enough. So I admire you for coming to this new
I don't know how long it'll last. It's just one of those things that it's like, I mean, what you said was okay, but it might have been more thoughtful in what you would say. And it's not about that specifically. It's just I am trying to just take things in a little bit more and be a little bit more conscious of how I'm acting. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about that in the past, right? We go through life just unconscious, you know, like just going through and just being yourself, which is great. But if you just continue to be yourself, question yourself, then I don't think that you're living in a conscious state. Yeah. You're not living an authentic state either, right? Because you're just rolling with it. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Unconsciously conscious. Yeah. No, that's what I've been. Yeah, I did another personality profile. Really have dug deep on that. And it's been really introspective, unlike some of the others that I've done. Which was it? Do you remember? It's called Lumina. Oh, okay. Yeah, and I've never heard of it. It's it not only takes into consideration the different archetypes, like your blue energy, those types of things, but it gets into a little bit deeper of the aspects, but personas and qualities. So we show up in 3 different states. Underlying state, which is kind of our most natural state, which is typically around people that we're most comfortable with. Then work or every day, and then a stressful state. Okay. So it measures all of those archetypes, all of those qualities, all of those aspects, all in those states. Is that Sally Hogshead? No, not that I'm aware of. I don't recognize that person. Yeah, because Sally Hogshead, she's brilliant, and she has a whole system of her own that's a little bit similar to that, I think. Yeah, and it has a variety of different archetypes. Yeah. So it's interesting. So I mean, so I've been digging. Do you think now that you've done some of that that's something that's changeable? What?
Like those archetypes, do you think those things are changeable?
I think you can be more aware of them.
Yeah.
And I think that you can draw upon them. And I think the more consciously aware you are and the more effort you put into some of those things, I think you can influence the others. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, one of the things on this topic specifically that I've always had a bias or towards is introverted and extroverted. Mm-hmm. I've always thought extroversion is a better whatever. And typically that's the way it's positioned.
Okay.
Typically that's the way it's positioned, is that extroversion is a more, all the questions on a lot of these things are like more positive. Like you want to do things.
And
you're a fun
more
person.
popular people are extroverted. Typically.
That's the way it's positioned, yet.
Yeah,
you know,
most of the popular people, most of the successful people, most of the business and entrepreneurs, I don't know what the stats are, but I know it's definitely a majority of people are introverted.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What I've learned is that people are a mix of both. Mm-hmm. They're not one or the other.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
So the Lumina allows for that to happen. So that's very, that feels good for me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the challenges I've had with other profiles, is that you're either this and you can't be that.
Yeah.
And it
so
just
there's
seems
a little bit of overlap.
There's overlap, and it depends on what environment and what situation you're in that those things tend to come out. Mm-hmm. Right? So
Oprah had mentioned introverts and extroverts in one of the books that I've read of hers. Mm-hmm. And it was fascinating because she said when she goes into a crowd, because she's very introverted, so say she goes to a social event and she's out with people, she leaves feeling very depleted because she's given so much of herself, whereas extroverted people usually leave feeling fulfilled because they're getting something out of the crowd, whereas she feels like she's giving into the crowd. Right. So I thought that was a really interesting perspective on introvert versus extrovert that I'd never really thought of before. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is. I think more people would gain a lot of value from a more self-awareness.
What do you think you are? Like, are you more introverted, more extroverted? What are you?
I'm definitely more extroverted.
Okay.
Yeah,
and I'm very introverted.
Very small amount of introversion, although it tends to come out in other aspects. So I'd have to show you my profile, but. It's I'm definitely more extroverted than I am introverted in all states.
Yeah.
But there are some things that are introverted qualities that I have, right? Like showing up on time is important to me, and different things like that. And those tend to be introverted qualities.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, very interesting to actually break all those things down.
That's cool. We should do a topic on that because I think it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm definitely more introverted. I don't like big crowds. Mm-hmm. I only do it if I have to. Yeah. Like the thought of hosting an event and having a bunch of people there just literally makes me want to crawl under the table. Yeah.
I've just over time become less. What's the word? That never used to even come into question, like the crowd size.
I'm not adverse to big crowds, so I could sit in the middle of Times Square and have 1 million people around me, but I can't be the center of attention of that. Yeah. That bothers me. If I'm going to like an event, like we do these charity events and stuff all the time, when I go to them, I have to be with my small circle of people, and I don't really want to leave that circle of people.
Oh, okay.
Even when I know other people, I don't really want to converse. I feel very shy.
Well, those are definitely introverted qualities.
And I love socializing though, but I love doing it with my tight circle of people.
Right.
Like I would have people around me all of the time, but it would be my people.
Yeah. You'd be definitely more extroverted in your, comfort zone and with your own tribe.
With my own tribe, definitely. Yeah. So it's funny how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fascinating topic.
It is. Yeah, no, self-awareness is a huge value add, I think, for all of us.
But I do think it's interesting that a lot of these personality tests, like, I think some of them you don't change, but I think a lot of them are changeable. My DISC profile 5 years ago is totally different than my DISC profile now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain things maybe like paperwork that aren't going to change.
We're not static people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, that sucks. I quit if that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So, anything like, you definitely impacted. I would imagine as you get older, you're less, like, because you've went through so many of those experiences. But if you've measured me at 22 versus 37 now, I wouldn't say a completely different person, but the experiences I've had, they've definitely shaped and shifted me. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah. Now that you say that, I think the last couple of weeks have been weird energetically for me, and I just realized what it was. It's because I actually felt static. I wasn't moving forward. I wasn't progressing. I was just living a monotonous, subconscious, ordinary life. And I think I'm so accustomed to movement and moving forward over the last several years that when I'm not thinking about my next move or what's happening, I'm not taking action on those things. I feel energetically very stuck. Like, okay, I've hit the end of the road.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
I think it's Bob Proctor. He talks about, like, it's very important for people. I mean, not just Bob Proctor, but a lot of different speakers talk about how important it is to be conscious. Don't worry, it's still on.
I want to make sure. I'm like, hello?
Didn't hit the power button.
Yeah, no. Why do we think that about half hour, an hour later? You must do that too. It's like, oh, did I turn off? Yeah, whatever.
But a lot of speakers talk about how important it is to be progressing. If you're not progressing, you're dying.
Right.
And I think that's so important. Yeah. You have to be making movements. Yeah. I think this is why there's such a land of depression. Yeah,
well, that comes back to a little bit of your question, though. And that's where I think it's an interesting conversation to have, because on one hand, I would 100% agree with you that progression and growth is vital. Mm-hmm. Yet, on the other hand, everybody has a different lens of what that is. Yes. So, like, where you need maybe a different progressive growth, other people are like, no, well, I'm happy with this, and growth for me is making sure that I go on one extra picnic with my kids. Okay, so
let's not call it growth, let's call it variety. I listened to Bob Proctor this morning. He talked about this. He said when kids are young, they dread going to school. But the day that they have a school trip is what Bob Proctor is talking about. The day they have a school trip, they fly out of bed, they're dressed before their parents are even out of bed. Because they're getting a variety. Yeah. They're getting something at school that day that they don't normally get. Right. And that causes a level of excitement. It's like when you book a vacation, you're all of a sudden really excited for that vacation. Every day you're visualizing that vacation. It's also why they study why people keep buying lottery tickets. Because sometimes just the visualization of the hope of what I'm going to do when I win the lottery gives you a variety. It gives you something else to think about. It's also why people watch movies and they get into shows. So they have a variety in their life. There's something different going on.
Because I threw a change there, and it was just, that's not a good enough word. Change, no.
Yeah, variety. That's the key. We need variety. I need growth and variety.
Right.
But for some people, they don't need growth. They just need variety.
Yeah. Well, and I think inherently, probably from variety, you have some growth, right? And new experiences, they do grow you. So it depends on how you want to measure this, right?
That's right. Yeah.
But those are good conversations.
Mm-hmm. You want to reflect for 5 or 10 minutes?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, chew on
Brad's going to have 5 minutes of silence.
Yeah. Shh. Yeah.
What do you think? Should we end it there, Brad? We didn't even really start today.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome to Level Up Talks.
Hey. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's good. Yeah. I'm definitely more melancholy the last few weeks.
Are.
It's weird. It's really weird.
I can't say I really.
I know, like it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
You're just more chill. You're
I'm
like
definitely
chill Brad.
You're more chill. Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
It doesn't. It's weird. It's kind of one of those. It doesn't. I'm comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because it's like.
That's when you're growing.
I do prefer like the whatever, but it's like. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah.
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 It's.
You're in transition.
I'm in transition. It's
That's
funny to be.
Is.
It's funny. Yeah.
You're in transition.
And in what stage, I don't know.
Okay.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
do. So I've had this happen to me several times because I've had several transitions, fairly large transitions in my life. And this is always what happens to me. I go into reflection. I kind of go into hideout. I don't want to see anyone. I go a little bit crazy, and you're in transition. You're trying to figure out in your head where you're going, what you're doing, what you like, what you don't like.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's definitely...
And making that shift. Yeah. Because, anytime you make a shift, it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah.
AF.
Yeah.
and
Series AF.
and you know, it's normal.
Yeah.
You're normal, Brad.
I am abnormally normal.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's definitely.
So where are you progressing on
abnormality.
that? Because like I know you've got off the record.
Yeah.
You've got lots of things going on with your business.
Yeah, I mean, in what regard? Like, I mean,
We keep talking about like workplace.
yeah. So I mean, it's
Is
funny
it-
as I'm going through everything and trying to figure everything out.
What's holding you back?
Nothing's holding me back. I don't think. I mean, there would be fear of letting completely go of what I've had for a while because it is feeding me.
But you don't have to do either or.
No,
You can
it's
still do both.
definitely
Because
there's
I think if
nothing-
it's the right path, you fly there.
right.
You can't get there fast enough because
Right.
it's exciting, it's exhilarating, it's
Yeah.
stressful, but you're like, I don't
Yeah.
know how I'm going to figure it out or work it out, but I'm going to work it out because it's the right thing. And I know from my own personal experience, when I'm hesitating, you know, like I had this other business idea, a couple of them now, and I hesitate and I'm like, you know, and I know that when I get into these hesitations and something's stopping me, it's because it's not quite the right thing. It's close, but not quite the right thing.
Yeah. So I think.
So don't be afraid to pivot.
Right. So I mean, so FlexBen right now, what I've concluded is it's a benefits and wellness consulting company. Like it helps companies with their health, dental, group retirement, and foundational wellness tools.
Yeah.
The company that I'm referring to at this point is Lyft, is a self-awareness leadership company consulting group.
Okay.
Helping people identify who they are, not only in an individual space, but in a team space, organizational space, and helping and bringing in leadership tools as well for that. So I spent some time with Lumina. I'm actually in the process of becoming accredited as a Lumina practitioner. They have a lot of different tools that I feel are necessary for me to have the confidence, but also to substantiate to anybody that there's credibility there.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't come up with these things. I might have some add-ons that I feel are necessary, but it's from not only a practical, but my own personal experience. What's great about my own personal experience is I'm going through a big journey myself, and I think that a lot of people are going through that. So self-awareness and self-reflection and where they want to go, what they want to do. So I think there's value in that, coupled with the actual tools that are fact-based. They weren't just made up. They're accredited by international federations, universities, large companies use them. So that's where I'm going. Yeah.
So are you thinking of doing a program based, or you're going to go in, analyze the business, and then dish out what you think?
A couple different business models. One business model is one-to-one. In either could do it in group, which is powerful, valuable. You don't have to be all from the same organization, but if you had 10 or 15 people in a space, split them up into two groups, there's a lot of learning that can be done in that capacity, especially self-awareness. Interestingly enough, self-awareness within a group is more powerful than just on your own. For sure. Because that's where there's value in us even having a conversation and sharing it with others. Then there's obviously the organizational side of things, where you actually do it with an organization, and there's those team dynamics and values adds to helping stuck organizations, because often I think we get stuck based on personalities and not understanding how to work well together. Yeah, agreed. So and then there's the other elements on top of that. I mean, that's just personality and team dynamics as a result of the different personalities. And that's a full day. Yeah. And then there's leadership and different things that you can go into as a result of some leadership stuff, some feedback in terms of culture, emotional intelligence. So I can build off of just the.
So how are you starting?
How am I starting what?
How are you starting all of this?
What do you mean?
Like you're getting all of the programs, all the back end stuff all figured out right now?
Yeah. So
are you going to go volunteer at a company and say, hey,
no,
be my guinea pig?
There's that option. Yeah. And I have one that I'm going to meet with next week and have that conversation. I have a few others that I think that I can approach just based on their challenges and see if they feel like this would be a decent strategy or first step in an overall strategy. There's no doubt that there's appetite for the conversation, and I'm not creating this industry. It's been around. So it's just like, hey, I want to get into real estate or I want to get into insurance.
Okay.
Yeah, people want to buy the shit. People have been buying it for years, decades.
Yeah.
What I get to do is put my own spin on it and bring my own personality to it, and that's why you choose A over B is who do you identify with and where's the value, right? Because John can do the same thing or I can get Brad to do it. I like John better, whatever. It's the next steps. I have a few other conversations to have with some people that I want to strategize with. And then it's doing kind of minimal viable product stuff. So just getting some stuff out there, get some traction. Maybe I do a group option on an individual basis at a discounted rate compared to what I would normally do it for a full day of self-awareness, stuff. And then get some feedback, build some confidence, and then go from there.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I have been thinking a lot more than, it's not just all up there. I've started to put some things on paper. And that helps a lot. Like I'm just putting it in front of me, whether it's on a computer screen or writing it down, having these conversations about, well, what's the price point, those types of things. I did go up to Windsor and experience something similar with someone. It was fantastic. He did a great job. And we're going to talk Monday about what he's doing. And I don't know where the conversation is going to go.